We're going to look now at how to write connections and conclusions paragraphs for essays. Here's an overview and some of the core habits. So we've already seen how to do the planning page, introduction, as well as the body paragraphs. The last paragraphs in an essay are the connections paragraph, that's fourth, and then fifth, and finally, is the conclusion paragraph. So let's look first at the connections paragraph. That's paragraph number 4, and what exactly is that? A connections paragraph relates the ideas in your thesis to yourself and or to the real world. How's it work? The connections paragraph has 3 parts. Part 1 is the connection, part 2 is an example of the connection, and part 3 is the significance. It's actually pretty similar to how you think of claim evidence reasoning. What does each part mean? The connection is one sentence. You share a real world or personal connection that you have to an idea from your essay thesis. Second, you give an example. This is 1 to 2 sentences. Here is a specific example of your connection, either from your own experience or from a real world occurrence. Lastly, you finish with a significance. Here you explain the significance of your connection and you relate that example back to your essay thesis. This should be 1 to 2 sentences. You'll notice right here the connections paragraph is short, 3 to 5 sentences in total. So let's look at some of the parts of the connections paragraph, starting first with the connection itself. This is one sentence that broadly relates your thesis to yourself or to the real world. And if you're talking about yourself, you can and should use personal pronouns like I, my, we, if you're talking about your own personal experience. Now look at the example above in the red letters. Here it is again based off that sample essay about Jonas and Salva, how they're both determined through hardship. So my connection talks about Jackie Robinson is a real figure in history, a civil rights activist who also showed remarkable persistence in the face of hardship. Next is the example part. Here you give a specific example of that connection. You either give an example from your own life, from history, or the modern world that demonstrates that connection. And again, if you're talking about your personal experience, use those personal pronouns. You'll notice as I talk about Jackie Robinson in this example, I don't give any evidence, I don't give any quotation, like you are the evidence, either your understanding of the world or as you describe your own personal experience. There is no need for evidence or quotations. Lastly, we finish up the connections paragraph with a significance statement. Here you explain the significance of that connection evidence and relate your connection back to your essay thesis. So here I come full circle, talking about how it's Robinson's self-belief and refusal to give up that led him to success. Here is my connections paragraph in total, all 3 parts combined. It's 4 sentences, pretty short. Okay, moving on, we'll talk about the conclusion paragraph. This is the last paragraph of your 5-paragraph essay. What exactly is a conclusion paragraph? It's your final paragraph and a last chance to make an impression on your reader. How's it work? It has 2 parts, restate your thesis and so what? What does each part mean? Restate your thesis means you are going to rephrase your essay thesis. You know your thesis that's all the way back in your intro paragraph? You reword that. Now, be sure not to just copy your thesis. You want to rephrase or reword it. Next is the so what statement. What's that? Well, it's what it sounds like. So what? Why does your essay matter? Leave the reader with a final thought about how your thesis relates to something bigger than just the text. Some message about the world is how you want to leave your essay on that final note. Your restate thesis is one sentence, and your so what statement should be 1 to 2 sentences. So yes, in total, your conclusion paragraph should be no more than 2 or 3 sentences. Let's look at those specific parts. First, the restate thesis. Here, based off that Jonas and Salva example, I have not just recopied my thesis. I've switched up the words, and I've used a strong sentence starter like in conclusion. You see in the table down below, there's some examples of strong sentence starters like in conclusion, overall, ultimately, and there's also some examples on the right of some weak conclusion sentence starters. Okay, now to look more closely at that so what statement. This is, again, the final sentence or two of your essay. This is how you close. And you want to finish by showing the reader why your essay matters. Why should the reader care? Go out with a bang. Leave your reader with a message or leave them feeling curious and wondering, just buzzing at the end as they finish reading your essay. Here is my entire conclusion paragraph, both parts combined. This is 2 sentences. That's it. All right, we have now taken a look at the connections and conclusions paragraphs. And now we have looked at all parts of the essay, the planning page, as well as all other 5 paragraphs. If you want to rewatch this video or any of the other videos we've watched learning about essays, you'll see them all posted on the English Basics one-pager on our classroom classwork page. Thanks for watching.